Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 16 of Legends of Tomorrow called Legendary. And here is our season finale. And in a character way, it's pretty satisfying, but in a plot way, um, it's it's really not. Let's just kind of get the big thing out of the way first. Is that the the rules of time travel on the show have always been a little wonky, and sort of the overall plot of things questionable. Here it's just like this is just so thinly stretched. It's like you have to kill Vandal Savage 3 times, and this crazy ritual involving their blood in 3 different times and places will destroy all of history going back to 1700 BC. I mean, the scope of it all fits a comic book plot, and it sounds like a comic book plot. But this, even in a comic book, this would seem really kind of ridiculous. But okay, we're just gonna have to roll with it. And frankly, I mean, this is just one of those things where it feels like they're doing this so that it kind of feels like everybody gets to have a little hand. It like not more than a little bit of a personal hand in killing Vandal Savage. I mean, Kendra, Rip, Mick, and Sarah all personally get to kill Vandal Savage. Oh, okay, Kendra more stabbed him and Rip kind of finished him off, but I'll give that one to Kendra. And yeah, it's very cool from the perspective of those characters' storylines to see them get to do that, but just the overall logic of it all is, I mean, even by comic book standards, it's pretty laughable. But it is what it is. Now, with that said, let's just kind of get into what's going on with the characters. Um, Despite everything that's kind of her being one of the big focuses of the season, it really wasn't, huge. Besides the moment where she actually got to stab Vandal Savage, there really didn't seem to be a lot going on with Kendra this episode, and she more or less got some poor guy killed in World War II. I saw some people talking about like, is that supposed to be Sergeant Rock? I was like, no, I'm pretty sure that's not Sergeant Rock. And if you don't know, Sergeant Rock is one of DC's most well-known World War II characters. Yeah, if I remember right, he's like in the time of World War II. I mean, the soldier that got killed was a young dude, and I'm pretty sure Sergeant Rock survived World War II. So there's that. Also, the thing with that where she sticks the note in the helmet, it's like, okay, I don't know, we don't know when Rip got that, but just the idea that this thing is going to be sitting there in that helmet and nobody's going to take a close enough look at it to notice this for God knows how long, that seems kind of dumb to me. On the other hand, cool stuff. We got to see Vandal Savage and the team fighting Nazis. Hey, beating up Nazis, that never gets old. And we got to see Firestorm use his transmutation powers. Again, that's kind of one of the big things of his in the comics. And well, they only got to play around with that a little bit. Obviously, this is going to be a big thing going into season 2. Let's see. What else do we need to talk about? Nothing really particular to say about Carter this episode, which is, it's kind of a little disappointing that, given that he was actually killed by Vandal Savage over the course of the season, that he never really got to do anything to get revenge. I mean, yes, he gets to go off with Kendra in the end, but not a lot going on with Carter this episode. Although, in all fairness, he did take part in the final battle, so I guess they let him have something to do. But that stuff with him felt kind of weak. And I was reading some interviews with an interview with the writers, and they were saying, okay, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do for season 2, and we just kind of realized it felt like Kendra and Carter's story had mostly played out. Anything we tried to do with them felt really kind of weak, so that's why they kind of left the show. I'm sure they'll pop up as guest stars, but I kind of feel that that was sort of the right move. I mean, this first season really was very heavily focused on them, and Vandal Savage really was, while an enemy of the team, he was the very personal villain for them. So him dying, it kind of makes sense that they're going to take a little break. And I do like that they took some time to sort of acknowledge the whole thing with between Kendra and Ray, and everybody's being a mature adult for a change. Um, Besides that, not a really huge amount of stuff to say about Ray. Although we did get to see him finally shrink other objects again, very cool. Um, I mean, Ray can already shrink himself, but again, his skills as the Atom are growing, and it'll be very interesting to see where they go with him in season two. And of course, having the ability to shrink things besides himself, also a really nice trick to have up his sleeve. It was also really fun seeing that him going out there and like being in that car with the mask. He's like, "Hey Mick, we're buds," and it is kind of fun that Mick is still calling him haircut and stuff. But I guess moving on to Mick, by the end of this episode, we do see him like just flat out openly admit he considers the other people on the team to be his friends. We also see him trying to go back to his old life and just finding it really unsatisfying and possibly killing a dude. Um, and we also get to have him and that really nice moment with Snart. And as I said last time around, Wentworth Miller has been signed on to appear on Legends. He's going to be appearing on Flash. He's going to be appearing on Arrow. So, he's obviously quite happy at the CW, and I'm sure the CW is delighted to have him. He's an amazing actor. But this was kind of a nice way to have a more proper farewell to Snart's character, and Mick kind of having a moment to sort of say what he really wanted to say to him, that you're my hero. It kind of is there as a reminder in a lot of ways that there's something I was reading yesterday, um, and it said death, and I might not be seeing this exactly word for word, but it says um, death is the only certainty in life, and the time of death is uncertain. So what are you going to do? And this is basically just kind of that old idea that, nobody is guaranteed a tomorrow. We could all die in our sleep tonight. Anything could happen to us. No one is guaranteed even one more heartbeat. And that we should, I hate to say something as cliche as live every day as if it was our last. I would say it would be more important to live every day well. And that would include making sure that the people that you care about really know how you feel about them. That if there is something that you've been wanting to say to someone in your life that you care about, and you just haven't been able to bring that yourself to do that, you should find it in yourself to do so, because you never know when it's going to be too late. Um, so let's see. What else? Um, Nothing really huge to say about what was going on with Jax and Martin. I mean, again, we see them kind of messing around with their powers, and I really did love that scene with those scenes with Martin and Clarissa, his wife. His wife is obviously an extremely understanding person. She really knows how to read her husband, and then they have that intervention, and Stein's reaction to like, "Oh my God, this is an intervention," and her basically saying like, "Look, go off and be a superhero if that's what you really want." And I like how this is presented not as really her decision, a decision that comes from love, which speaks well of Clarissa as a character. She's not the most fleshed out person in the whole thing, but they have clearly been making efforts to make her seem like a real person, and for us to understand why Martin cares about her so very much. Let's see, what else do we have to talk about? Well, we definitely need to have a word about what's going on with Sarah. One of the things I've been talking about in my other reviews is that it's going to be really messy when she finds out about Laurel, and I kind of figured this is something they might sort of save for the next season on Arrow. But in retrospect, that's kind of a silly idea. You don't want something like that hanging over a season finale. And they deal with it really quickly this episode, but again, this kind of feeds into the whole what they're saying about time travel here makes no sense. It's like rip. It's like, oh, if we try and save this, like your father, well, what was it? Quentin will die, or both Laurel and Quentin will die, or all three of you will die. I couldn't even really keep it straight, but it was basically Laurel's effed, and if we try and change it, just more people in your family are gonna die. Um, okay, Rip, just be clear. Have you actually tried to do this? And it's kind of a little funny that it would be like, oh, it's just not gonna be. It's gonna be you and people in your family. I guess Damon Dark won't kill anybody else at the prison. He'll just be like, yeah. I don't know. That really made no sense. But Arthur Derville and Katie Lott's really rocking those scenes. Very, very heartbreaking stuff. And it is interesting to note that no matter what happens, there's nothing they can do about it. Rip's wife and son are still dead. Laurel is still dead. And it's interesting. I was actually reading this stuff today. I've actually been reading a little bit of philosophy lately. And they were talking about the Stoics from ancient Greece. And the interesting thing about the Stoics is that they were, from ancient Greece, so they believed in the three fates and stuff. The Stoics were kind of interesting when it came to the idea of fate. They were very accepting of the idea that the past could not be helped, which, duh. But no, but it was basically they didn't believe. All right, let's take a step back. The Stoics believed that everything was controlled by the three fates, and destiny, whatever you want to call it. They were the ones that decided your fate, and if you wanted to do something and they didn't want you to do it, then it didn't matter. But that didn't mean that you just sat on your butt and accepted whatever happened to you in life. They really did believe that you were supposed to go out there and give it your very best to do and accomplish the things that you wanted in life. But the fatalism part comes in with the past. The Stoics were extremely big on you have to accept what has happened. You and of course, and that sounds kind of simple, but think about how when people lose things in their life, they lose their jobs, people in their families die, relationships break up, and yeah, of course, when these things happen, it's natural to be upset for a while. But how many people? I mean, I think we all know someone who has lost something in their life, and they're just really never able to get over it. They're not able to accept the past, to let it go. That there's nothing you can do to change the past. As it was once succinctly put, what is is. And Rip and Sarah, that's kind of the big choice that they ultimately come to. I mean, Rip kind of was forced on. It was kind of forced on Rip before, and it kind of looked like he maybe was going that direction of accepting it. And now it's Sarah's turn to realize that, like, look, the person I love, they were taken from me, and even with this time machine and all of my friends, there's nothing I can do about that. Loss is a part of life, and it is an inevitable part of life. There is no way to dance between the raindrops and not lose things that you care about. That's true for everybody, and it always has been, and it almost certainly always will be. But it is kind of in letting go and accepting Laurel's death. Like, you get that scene for Sarah at the grave. Rip has that vision of Sarah on the of his wife and son on the ship. That's them really properly letting go of what happened. And yeah, it's a little rushed with Sarah, but she got to have a really great scene with her dad. The scene at the grave was really good. She even kind of mentions like, maybe I probably should help the guys out with Damien Dark. And they kind of like, Rip's like, nah, we kind of need you as a time master. And I do kind of like that they at least acknowledge, like, yeah, maybe Sarah, once she kind of learned about what was going on, would probably want to come and pitch in. But, Rip does present a good case that, hey, there's nobody out there watching the timeline. People could go out there and do God only knows what now. So Sarah makes the choice to sort of trust her friends to handle the situation and, go off with the team. I also like how when Rip is like throwing that meteor into the sun, eventually they sort of acknowledge like, yeah, we could just kind of head the ship in the direction and then sort of throw the rock out the airlock towards the sun. I mean, the whole time I'm seeing it blast towards the sun, I'm like, dude, why don't you just do that? Okay, I mean, the sun has this thing called gravity. Get something close enough to it and hurl it towards the sun at a decent rate of speed. Eventually, the sun's gravity is going to get a hold of it and, pull it in. Also, sun, pretty big. A huge explosion by the sun, sun's going to be fine. So, let's see. One thing I also read in some of the interviews with the creators today is that despite what they talked about with the Time Masters, they're not going to have the Thanagarians be the big bads of season 2, like a lot of people, including me, had kind of suspected. Um, they've just sort of hinted it's like, yeah, this person is going to make Vandal Savage look like a pushover. And, I'm just sort of trying to really rack my brain for who that could be. I mean, they've officially introduced aliens into the DC universe, the CW verse. I guess maybe the New Gods or Darkseid would be a possibility, but they've been hitting heavily at Darkseid for the Justice League movies, so I don't think they're going to be going there. Thanagar, they've hinted at that, so there's other just because they're not doing the Thanagarians doesn't mean that they might not do alien antagonists. So there is a good number of extraterrestrial threats besides the New Gods who could come in there. Was that Kanjaro? I think Despero is another one. Dominators. The Reach. The Reach would be really really nice if they wanted to. Go with the idea of aliens. I've kind of thought it'd be really cool to have an evil team of time travelers. Um, but I guess we're just gonna have to see. It's also been said now that Supergirl is officially moving to the CW that they're going to be doing a big 4-part crossover between Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, and Legends. I believe that's gonna happen in December, which is going to be absolutely amazing. And it's just kind of going to be the big question of how are they going to pull all of that off. But then again, we've got time travelers, we've got Cisco's ability to go through dimensions. It's going to work. I mean, it could work, and well, that kind of leads us into our big shocker moment, which some jerk on Facebook spoiled for me because I had to work last night. With Rex Tyler popping up, and of course, Rex Tyler from the comics is Hourman, one of the early members of course, the Justice Society. Yeah, and this guy that was spoiled was like, "Do you think he might have meant to say Justice League?" Like, no, idiot. You really think that on the set of the show that the guy said Society and nobody effing noticed? God. I mean, what do you think he's Rex? He's just gonna go like, "What's the Justice Society?" "Oh, did I say Justice Society? Sorry, I meant the Justice League." No, dude. Okay, basic DC History 101 is that the Justice Society comes first, and later on, the Justice League forms. And we've even hinted that they're going to be the Justice League. The Flash, they kind of said that Barry was a founding member of the, and they kind of cut it off there. Although, sort of one of the web comics that they had that first season going along with Flash did let the word justice slip past. So it's possible that the Justice Society will be formed, and then later on Barry will be part of some sort of a reorganization that will let it become the Justice League. But I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see. But anyway, Our Man's whole thing is he had this sort of pill that he developed. He was a brilliant chemist of some sort, which he called Miraclo, and if he took it, he would get like super strength, super endurance, and all this, but it would only last for 1 hour. It's sort of like if you take a pill and you can be like Captain America, but only for an hour. And he was a hero from like the 1940s, and then his son sort of took over the idea of being Hourman for a while, and then Hourman became a android, really cool looking android, but still an android. So the other thing we have to keep in mind is that Geoff Johns, basically kind of one of the big head honchos of all things DC Entertainment, really got his start writing the Justice Society comics, and he did a lot to really breathe fresh life into those characters. I mean, those are some good comics. So while a lot of the Justice League characters are obviously off limits, they can start playing around with Justice Society and really have a much more free hand. I mean, Jay Garrick has been an important part of Flash this season, and well, I guess we're going to see exactly how that all pans out in the season finale on Tuesday. Um, and then there's just a lot of really cool and very interesting characters in Justice Society. In fact, also Justice Society, we got to see Atom Smasher pop up over on Flash this season. Um, so yeah, we also got Wildcat. I forgot he was on Arrow. So there's a lot of other characters they could do in Justice Society that would be really cool. Cyclone, she's a character that I'm pretty fond of. I'd like to see them use her. Um, Constantine, guess we can't forget that, is now officially incorporated into the Arrowverse, and we've seen the helmet of Doctor Fate in Constantine's little mystical barn. So, yeah. Again, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, despite some flaws here and there, Legends really was a great show. It was fun. It was just pure comic book craziness. Even topping the Flash, in just terms of how comic book this show got. But it was a fun ride, and I am definitely on board for season 2. So with that said, guys, I'm going to call it here. Until next time, comment, rate, and subscribe, and take care and have a good one.